Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we unpack the stories shaping today's headlines and try to clarify what really matters. We take a whole stack of information, articles, research, sometimes even court filings, and pull out the most important bits of knowledge and insight for you. Today we're diving into a really fascinating and, frankly, complex legal case. It certainly captured a lot of public attention. We're going to unpack the allegations, look at the documented evidence presented so far, and consider the broader implications surrounding a major figure in the entertainment industry.
Absolutely. And before we really get into the details, it's so crucial to remember that fundamental principle of justice. The accused is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Always. Our aim here isn't to judge, but to illuminate the facts as they've been presented in the public record and explore the different perspectives.
That's exactly right. Our mission today is to give you a clear, structured understanding of this $260 million civil lawsuit. It was filed by a former employee and actor, Derek Dixon, against the media mogul Tyler Perry and Tyler Perry Studios. It's definitely a trending topic, and not just because of that huge sum involved, but also because, well, Mr. Perry is such a beloved and influential figure, particularly within the community. So it's vital we emphasize we're discussing the allegations as laid out in Mr. Dixon's official legal filing. We'll also touch on Mr. Perry's team's official statements responding to these claims. Our goal is really just to break down the narrative presented in this civil lawsuit, acknowledging these are claims, yet to be proven in court. So let's unpack this. Okay, let's start by laying out the groundwork. Who are the key players here, and what are the core claims that form the basis of this whole deep dive?
Right. So at the heart of it, you have the plaintiff, Derek Dixon. He's identified in the documents as a professional actor and screenwriter, and then the defendants. Tyler Perry, also referred to by his legal entities like EMTT Perry and TPS Production Services, and of course Tyler Perry Studios itself. Mr. Dixon, he was actually a series regular on Mr. Perry's show, The Oval.
Okay. And the core of the complaint, it's a hefty document, 40 pages. It describes what it calls a sustained pattern of workplace sexual harassment, assault, and retaliation.
Yeah.
And it attributes this pattern directly to Mr. Perry. It suggests Mr. Perry used his considerable influence in the entertainment industry to recreate a coercive, sexually exploitative dynamic. Pretty strong language.
Very strong language. And indeed, the lawsuit claims that initial promises, things like career advancement, creative opportunities, specifically producing Mr. Dixon's pilot's book, casting him in a show, these were allegedly contingent upon Mr. Dixon reciprocating Mr. Perry's unwanted advances, which, the suit claims, led to escalating sexual harassment, assault, and battery and professional retaliation.
The lawsuit goes even further. It states that Mr. Perry's success supposedly led him to believe that his money and influence can get him whatever he wants, and that this apparently transformed into the idea that he can get whomever he wants. It lays out what it calls a troubling pattern of exploiting vulnerable male actors and employees, allegedly leveraging his industry power by first offering these sort of career-defining opportunities, then using his influence to ensnare them, positioning their success as contingent on meeting his demands in a quid pro quo sexual compromise.
Right. And the lawsuit details this pattern involving providing acting positions, roles, show contracts, even gift-like cars and money, then allegedly putting the individual in fear of losing it all unless they engaged in Mr. Perry's perverted desire for sexual gratification. Yeah. The complaint even makes the shocking claim that Mr. Perry would easily kill off a character in a show of an actor who failed to indulge Perry's sexual fantasies.
Wow. Quite an allegation.
It is, and it's really important here to bring in the other side. Mr. Perry's attorney, Matthew Boyd, he issued a statement to a media outlet. In it, he asserts that Mr. Dixon is, quote, an individual who got close to Tyler Perry for what now appears to be nothing more than setting up a scam, end quote. Mr. Boyd goes on to state that Mr. Perry will not be shaken down, and we are confident that these fabricated claims of harassment will fail, unquote. So you have a very strong categorical denial right from the start. It really sets the stage for what's likely to be a very contentious legal battle.
Okay, absolutely. Let's unpack the timeline as it's presented in the lawsuit itself, because it really sets the stage for the narrative Mr. Dixon is putting forward. It all begins, according to the filing, back in September 2019. Mr. Dixon was working event staff for a company called Legendary Events, and they were hired for the big opening party of Tyler Perry Studios.
That's right. The complaint states that Mr. Perry allegedly singled out Mr. Dixon from the crowd at that party, asked him about his job, his acting aspirations. Then, in early October 2019, they exchanged phone numbers. And the lawsuit alleges Mr. Perry started sending flirtatious text messages. It gives an example. After Mr. Dixon sent photos from a Halloween party, he was dressed as a cowboy. Mr. Perry reportedly texted back, "Your cowboy needs a sugar daddy." Yeah. According to the lawsuit, Mr. Dixon tried to shut down those kinds of comments.
Okay, and here's where, according to the suit, it starts getting, well, really interesting, and this narrative of escalating offers begins. Shortly after that exchange, Mr. Dixon's boss at Legendary Events apparently told him that Mr. Perry specifically wanted him, Mr. Dixon, to fly out to Los Angeles for another event. Then, jump to November 2019. Mr. Perry reportedly texted that he'd, quote, love to find plaintiff a job and change plaintiff's life. This was apparently followed pretty quickly by an offer for a small role, the character Dale in the TV series Ruthless, but with the promise that it could get a lot bigger.
And the lawsuit explicitly characterizes this moment as setting up the first stage in a series of escalating quid pro quo offers. It also includes what it calls an ominous warning, allegedly sent by Mr. Perry via text. It's quite a message, reads. "Be careful hanging around me. I cause dreamers to dream bigger. I cause them to not only believe, but do it. Then let's make it happen. You're an artist. You have to be fulfilled. Nothing else will suffice." All lowercase, apparently.
Interesting. Okay, so about a month later, December 2019, what does the complaint say happened then?
The complaint details Mr. Perry buying and then giving Mr. Dixon a new car. The explanation allegedly given was that he, quote, hated Dixon's Jeep. Now, the lawsuit frames this specific act as Mr. Dixon being set up by Perry for extreme dependence, creating obligation, perhaps. Then, on New Year's Eve 2019, Mr. Perry reportedly texted Mr. Dixon again, saying he couldn't remember the last time he had good sex, and implying it was before it was rich. So the sequence of events, according to the plaintiff's narrative, was subtly but consistently establishing this dynamic of, provision and expectation.
Right. Then we move into January 2020. This is just a few months after Mr. Dixon got that first acting gig. Mr. Perry reportedly invited Mr. Dixon to his home in Douglasville County, Georgia. Mr. Dixon states in the filing that he went hoping to, befriend Mr. Perry, maybe showcase his talent, build a professional connection. While he was there, the suit says Mr. Dixon was served numerous alcoholic drinks, and Mr. Perry was also drinking. The conversation is described as friendly, no sexual advances initially, until the end of the night. That's when Mr. Perry allegedly told Mr. Dixon not to drive home because he was too intoxicated. Mr. Dixon agreed, was shown to a separate guest room, and got into bed wearing only his underwear.
And this, according to the complaint, is where the first alleged sexual assault occurred. The complaint states Mr. Perry slipped into the bed, started rubbing Mr. Dixon's body. When Mr. Dixon turned around, Mr. Perry was reportedly in bed with him. Mr. Dixon states he immediately jumped out of bed, told Mr. Perry he, quote, wasn't that sexual, quote. But Mr. Perry reportedly ignored this, demanded to see him naked in his underwear, and commented on Mr. Dixon's body. Mr. Dixon claims he kept saying he wasn't into sex, trying to keep Mr. Perry at bay, while also, importantly, trying not to insult the person who was, quote, dangling his career in front of him.
Okay.
That description really highlights the alleged power imbalance the plaintiff felt was at play, even in that moment of extreme discomfort.
The lawsuit goes on to allege that the very next day after this incident, Mr. Perry called and texted Mr. Dixon relentlessly, apologizing profusely, apparently, for the alleged sexual assault, blaming it on self-sabotaging. But here's what's really striking and central to the quid pro quo claim. On the very same call where he's allegedly apologizing, Mr. Perry reportedly told Mr. Dixon, and don't worry, we're going to do your show, referring to Mr. Dixon's pilot script. And shortly after that, Mr. Dixon reportedly got a call from Mr. Perry's lawyer saying Christmas had come early with a substantial raise and confirmation the show was green lit, with, the suit adds, an explicit warning not to tell any other actor about the raise. This sequence really drives home the plaintiff's claim of quid pro quo, linking the alleged assault, the apology, and the career advancement.
Following that, in February 2020, Mr. Perry is said to have told Mr. Dixon to quit his job at Legendary Events and work exclusively for him. The lawsuit claims Mr. Perry indicated he was not able to control Dixon so long as Dixon had a secondary income. After Mr. Dixon did quit his other job, the complaint states Mr. Perry became more and more personal with Dixon, knowing that Dixon was now under his control, end quote. He reportedly started saying things like, I give and give and give, and no one ever does anything for me in return. No one ever gives me what I want or what I need. Which Mr. Dixon apparently interpreted as implying he wasn't providing sexual favors. Mr. Perry also reportedly asked about Mr. Dixon's sexual preferences, even his sexual role, allegedly stating he'd had sex with men before or was a top.
Then by March 2020, we see the script for The Oval. Mr. Dixon's character, Dale, was written in a way the lawsuit highlights, as a gay, homeless, and desperate store clerk who had to sleep with one of the other characters for a place to stay, end quote. And at the end of that season, Dale was shot 4 times in the chest. Left ambiguous, perhaps. Mr. Dixon claims Mr. Perry implied that if Mr. Dixon did a good job, his character would be back. This led Mr. Dixon to believe, he says, that his job security depended on his relationship with Perry. Unquote. So this alleged creative decision seems, from the plaintiff's perspective, to mirror the personal dynamic being described.
Mm-hmm. Then the COVID-19 pandemic hits. Filming for The Oval gets postponed. During this time, Mr. Perry reportedly made FaceTime calls to Mr. Dixon almost every day. The lawsuit characterizes this as treating him like an on-call pet. Mr. Dixon states he felt obligated to answer these calls due to fear of losing his role and income. Mr. Perry is also said to have encouraged Mr. Dixon to move into an on-set studio house that he owned, where the suit suggests he would have more control. And reportedly, Mr. Perry told Mr. Dixon about how he allegedly manipulated employees through ruthless retaliation by killing off characters of actors who misbehaved. The lawsuit really paints this picture of increasing isolation and dependence for Mr. Dixon during the pandemic.
There's another incident described in the lawsuit, deeply unsettling, around April 2020, while Mr. Dixon was apparently living in these studio homes. Mr. Perry is said to have coerced Mr. Dixon into drinking alcohol and then getting on the phone for what the suit calls sexually explicit rants, allegedly becoming frustrated when Mr. Dixon wasn't giving him what he needs. Mr. Perry also reportedly warned Mr. Dixon not to tell his castmates about the alleged harassment or their quote-unquote friendship, demanding it remain secret. And he supposedly tried to frame this secrecy as being for Dixon's benefit. This alleged demand for secrecy was a common thread in complaints like these, often serving to isolate the alleged victim.
Then, on June 27, 2020, the complaint includes details of another alleged text message from Mr. Perry to Mr. Dixon. This one stated that all he wanted for his birthday were biscuits and BJs, referring to oral sex, but that he only ever received biscuits. The suit says this insinuated a request for oral sex from Mr. Dixon. Other messages mentioned the suit reportedly called Mr. Dixon cute and said that Mr. Perry was just thinking about Dixon. Baba. And crucially, the lawsuit states it includes screenshots of these text messages, which are presented as direct evidence supporting the claims of harassment.
Okay, fast forward to October 2020. Mr. Perry reportedly invited Mr. Dixon and other actors from The Oval on a cast trip to his private island in the Bahamas. Mr. Dixon claims he felt he couldn't decline because he feared being erased from the show. End quote. While they were there, Mr. Perry is said to have made alcoholic drinks and, again, allegedly forced Mr. Dixon to drink. The suit claims Mr. Perry told Mr. Dixon he wanted an open relationship and that he could see himself having that type of relationship with Mr. Dixon, but added that Mr. Dixon needed to be with someone rich. He also allegedly commented on Mr. Dixon being greased up with tanning oil, saying it was driving him crazy, and reportedly said he would have burned the whole island down if one of the other actors or anyone else from the group had touched Dixon that night.
And this, according to the lawsuit, led to the second alleged sexual assault, this time on the island. Mr. Perry is said to have aggressively seized Dixon and groped his buttocks. Mr. Dixon claims he, again, froze up. Mr. Perry then reportedly told him to go to bed. Following this incident, Mr. Perry reportedly sent pictures of himself taken in the Bahamas to Mr. Dixon, and allegedly became upset when Mr. Dixon commented on the water in the picture instead of seeing Mr. Perry as a stud, reportedly calling Mr. Dixon an a-hole. This alleged escalation, even after the first alleged incident back in January, is a key part of Mr. Dixon's narrative of a sustained ongoing pattern of behavior.
The lawsuit then details the toll these alleged incidents were taking on Mr. Dixon. By December 2020, he describes feeling, quote, depleted due to the continued pattern of sexual harassment. He visited a physician, and the suit says the doctor noted severe symptoms of acute stress, insomnia, and stomach issues, and dangerously low cortisol levels. He was diagnosed with acute stress and prescribed an antidepressant, but the harassment allegedly continued into 2021. The suit claims Mr. Perry sent unsolicited photos of Mr. Dixon's body taken on the set of The Oval, with comments like, "OMG, look at thick Derek," and asked intimate questions like, "What's it going to take for you to have guiltless sex? And have you been intimate with someone?" One particularly aggressive alleged text cited in the suit states, "No straight man would be going on walks with you or cooking dinner for you unless they wanted to F you. I would F you."
Then we come to the third alleged sexual assault, dated June 4th, 2021. Mr. Perry again invited Mr. Dixon to his house, this time supposedly to discuss the pilot script again. Mr. Dixon states he felt he had to comply because of the existing power dynamic and the dangling promise of his show. After drinking alcohol again, Mr. Perry reportedly motioned for Mr. Dixon to step on a weight monitor, wearing only his underwear, pushing him to try it. After Mr. Dixon weighed himself, he claims Mr. Perry followed him. After asking for a goodnight hug, Mr. Perry allegedly reached out and yanked Dixon's underwear down from behind. Then, the suit alleges, he vigorously grabbed, groped, and played with Dixon's buttocks. Mr. Dixon claims he was naked from the waist down, stunned, terrified. He told Mr. Perry he didn't want his underwear down or to be naked, but Mr. Perry is said to have held his arm, preventing him from pulling up his underwear, and told him to relax and just let it happen.
That's incredibly graphic. How did that situation resolve according to the filing?
Mr. Dixon claims he was desperate for a way out. He mentioned he was hungry. That apparently prompted Mr. Perry to withdraw and order a pizza. Mr. Dixon then says he locked himself in the guest house bathroom and ended up sleeping on the floor. The following morning, Mr. Perry is said to have told Mr. Dixon that the incident was why they shouldn't drink together, but, crucially, did not apologize for his alleged actions. Mr. Dixon states he left the house shaking uncontrollably. It depicts a really severe emotional reaction, underscoring the plaintiff's claims of significant distress.
And the aftermath of that alleged incident.
Well, for the next several days, according to the suit, Mr. Perry reportedly called and texted Mr. Dixon incessantly. Again, profusely apologizing. This time, allegedly blaming the incident on testosterone supplements he was taking. Mr. Dixon emphasized he was not okay with what happened, to which Mr. Perry reportedly replied, "I know that's why I like you." Mr. Perry then reportedly invited Mr. Dixon on a yacht trip and, again, promised to, for sure, make his pilot a series. Mr. Dixon states he understood this as another attempt to effectively silence Dixon. He refused the yacht invitation, and after that refusal, Mr. Perry reportedly stopped texting him for about 5 months.
A 5-month gap in communication. What was happening with Mr. Dixon during that time, according to the lawsuit?
During that 5-month period, the suit says Mr. Dixon was consistently in therapy. He was suffering from severe depression, anxiety, stomach pains, and nausea. He received a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. His therapy reportedly recommended outpatient treatment costing up to $20,000. It was also during this time, the lawsuit indicates, that Mr. Dixon began assessing his legal rights, so a potential shift from just coping to actively seeking recourse.
But then communication resumed.
Yes, in late 2021, according to the suit, Mr. Perry's fixers, likely lawyers or representatives, contacted Mr. Dixon. They informed him that his character on The Oval, Dale, would be returning to the show with a new storyline, and he'd be getting a graduated raise from $10,000 per episode up to $16,000, eventually increasing to $19,000 per episode. The lawyer reportedly used that same phrase again. Christmas came early and told Mr. Dixon he was doing a good job. However, Mr. Dixon was allegedly again forbidden from letting his castmates know about the raise because nobody other than him would be receiving a similar pay increase. And these fixers also reportedly offered to buy the rights to Mr. Dixon's pilot script, losing it for up to $1 million.
So, a significant raise and a potential $1 million deal for his pilot. How did Mr. Dixon react, according to the filing?
Mr. Dixon claims he knew why he was getting the raise and why the pilot offer was suddenly back on the table. He believed it was to silence him about the alleged assaults. He states he felt trapped. He ultimately decided to return to the set for the new season, but says he put safeguards in place. When he did return to the Oval, set in November 2021, he claims he suffered a panic attack upon seeing Mr. Perry needing another actor to calm him down. This really speaks volumes about the alleged psychological impact and the continued distress Mr. Dixon reportedly experienced, even with these significant financial incentives being offered.
And the pilot deal itself, did that go through smoothly?
Well, the lawsuit states that in March 2022, Mr. Dixon did sign the literary purchase agreement for his pilot, Losing It, with Tyler Perry Studios. However, here's a major contention in the lawsuit. It alleges that Mr. Perry knew all along that TPS had a pre-existing contract with Paramount Global, and this contract would allegedly prevent the sale or production of Mr. Dixon's show for at least 2 years. The lawsuit suggests this was an ulterior motive of silencing Mr. Dixon and that Mr. Perry had no intention of ever producing Losing It at that time. It implies a calculated deception specifically designed to maintain control and silence.
Wow. Okay, then moving to April 2022, Mr. Dixon reportedly received the script for the next season of The Oval. And his character Dale's storyline, the one he was brought back for with a raise, was now changed. He was written as a male prostitute being pursued by a pimp. Mr. Dixon claims in the suit that this storyline bore eerie similarities to Perry's pursuit of Dixon. He also claims he noticed specific lines of dialogue in the script that were taken directly from their alleged private conversations. The suit gives an example. "I don't like none of my bee running away. He was making good money for me." Quote, "If that detail is proven true, it will be incredibly impactful, suggesting a really disturbing blurring of lines between the alleged personal interactions and the professional work."
Absolutely. And before shooting that particular season began, Mr. Perry reportedly called Mr. Dixon again, this time allegedly, to discuss the June 2021 sexual assault incident. According to the suit, Mr. Perry lectured Mr. Dixon about overreacting. He claimed there was a misunderstanding in his communication and reportedly told Mr. Dixon that he needed to say no stronger, stating that Mr. Perry felt Mr. Dixon's no was really a yes because he didn't say it strong enough. This alleged response, essentially blaming the victim for not resisting strongly enough, is a deeply troubling aspect detailed in the complaint.
In January 2023, Mr. Dixon decided to move. He went to Santa Monica, California, seemingly to create physical distance from Mr. Perry in Georgia. Mr. Perry's alleged response to this move. According to the suit, he said he was glad to hear. Mr. Dixon was moving away and then asked if Mr. Dixon's no was stronger before he left. Oh, quote. Even after the move, the lawsuit claims the alleged quid pro quo harassment and attempts to cover up continued. Mr. Perry reportedly kept calling Mr. Dixon, discussing his own sex life, justifying past alleged assaults and saying things like, "You'll understand when you have a hit show." Okay. The persistence of these alleged communications, despite the geographical distance, really speaks to the ongoing nature of the claims being made.
Then, in October 2023, another alleged call. Mr. Perry reportedly contacted Mr. Dixon, saying his Paramount Global contract would end in January 2024, and that meant he would finally be able to start selling Losing It, Mr. Dixon's pilot. But in the very same conversation, Mr. Perry allegedly asked Mr. Dixon who he was having sex with, probing for intimate details about his sex life, and reportedly reiterated his own desire for a partner he could have an emotional and sexual relationship with, but one who goes back to their partner at the end of the day. So the plaintiff's account indicates that even this late in the timeline, nearly 4 years after they first met, the alleged offers related to the pilot remained intertwined with these deeply personal and allegedly harassing questions.
Now, December 2023 brings another element into the narrative presented in the lawsuit. It references another actor, Christian Keys. Mr. Keys had worked for Mr. Perry prior to Mr. Dixon. He posted a video on social media detailing what he called his abusive experience within an anonymous black Hollywood billionaire. End quote. Mr. Dixon, in his lawsuit, claims he saw this video, pieced together the details, and believes the anonymous billionaire Mr. Keys was describing was Tyler Perry. He notes alleged similarities in behavior, getting drunk, climbing into bed, fondling buttocks. Mr. Dixon states that seeing Mr. Keys' video made him want to share his own experiences with the media. This is a crucial point, as it suggests a potential pattern of behavior that goes beyond Mr. Dixon's individual claims.
And the lawsuit alleges that even after this, into 2024, Mr. Perry continued to offer Mr. Dixon positions and work, including offering him a writing position as recently as June 2024. The lawsuit frames these continued offers as attempts to string Dixon along and prevent him from exposing Mr. Perry. It was at this point, June 2024, that Mr. Dixon states he finally woke up and realized that Perry was never going to be serious about helping Dixon, and concluded that Mr. Perry was only interested in preventing him from exposing what the lawsuit calls the dark side of Tyler Perry. This marks a clear turning point in Mr. Dixon's stated decision-making process.
And what action did he take then?
As a result, Mr. Dixon states he took what the lawsuit terms the heroic step of reporting the sexual harassment to the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, in June 2024. The lawsuit alleges that Mr. Perry and the defendants, Tyler Perry Studios, did not make any investigation into the complaint and did not take any steps to prevent further harassment. Mr. Dixon then claims he had to quit his job on the Oval, effectively walking away from his contract, even though he was due to finish filming and stood to make close to $400,000. He was reportedly told by the production to portray his departure as an unpaid medical leave. He frames this outcome not as a leave, but as a constructive termination, essentially being forced out and an additional loss of income and insult. And this series of events, culminating in the EEOC complaint and his departure from the show, led directly to the filing of this $260 million civil lawsuit. That brings us up to the present legal action. Okay, so now that we've laid out that very comprehensive timeline and the factual allegations as presented in the lawsuit, let's shift gears a bit. Let's focus on the legal dimensions of this deep dive. It's really crucial to understand the specific legal claims being made and also, think about the potential legal strategies from both sides.
Right. Given everything we just heard from the plaintiff's narrative, what exactly is Mr. Dixon alleging in terms of specific legal violations? I mean, 10 causes of action is a lot. What stands out?
It is a lot. And they cover a range of issues. First, you have the claims directly related to workplace harassment. That includes quid pro quo sexual harassment. This is the core this for that allegation, that terms of employment, the roles, the pilot, the raises, were made contingent on Mr. Dixon accepting alleged sexual advances, including those alleged threats to kill off his character if he didn't comply. That's a very direct accusation. Then there's the claim of a hostile work environment. This argues the alleged conduct, the texts, the comments, the alleged assaults, created an atmosphere that was intimidating, offensive, oppressive, or abusive. So severe or pervasive, the argument goes, that it interfered with his ability to do his job.
Okay, so quid pro quo, hostile environment, those are fairly common in harassment cases, right?
Yeah.
What about the other specific statutes they're using here? You mentioned California Civil Code.
Yes, and this is where it gets perhaps more specific to California law and the alleged nature of the relationship. The lawsuit cites California Civil Code provisions. One is sexual harassment within a defined relationship under the Ralph Act. What's interesting about the Ralph Act is it can sometimes apply beyond the strict employer-employee definition. It recognizes power imbalances in various business or professional relationships. So the suit asserts Mr. Dixon had this kind of relationship with Mr. Perry and TPS, making it relevant in a Hollywood context where lines can blur. There's also an allegation of workplace gender violence. Now, this is a civil claim, but it essentially alleges acts that could constitute a criminal offense involving physical force or sexual intrusion based on gender. And then there's a claim under the Bain Act. The Bain Act addresses interference with someone's constitutional or statutory rights through threats, intimidation, or coercion. The lawsuit alleges Mr. Dixon's sex was a substantial motivating reason for this interference. The Bain Act is significant because it can allow for additional damages if proven.
And then there are the claims about the specific acts of alleged physical harm, the assaults themselves.
Exactly. The lawsuit includes distinct claims for sexual battery and sexual assault. Sexual battery, legally speaking, typically alleges an intent to cause harmful or offensive contact without consent, which resulted in harm. Sexual assault generally covers non-consensual sexual contact. Both are extremely serious claims, obviously. And then, moving beyond Mr. Perry individually, there are claims specifically against Tyler Perry Studios for negligent hiring, supervision, or retention of an employee, meaning Mr. Perry himself. This is really interesting because it argues that the studio, TPS, knew or reasonably should have known about Mr. Perry's alleged history of unlawful conduct. It specifically brings up the Christian Keyes allegations again here, suggesting TPS was aware of potential similar harassment involving Keyes and allegedly knowingly covered it up, possibly through payments and NDAs, non-disclosure agreements.
Right. That connection to Christian Keyes seems important for the claims against the studio itself. It suggests this wasn't just an isolated issue, but potentially a systemic one the studio failed to address.
Precisely. That's the implication. It shifts some focus from purely individual alleged misconduct to potential corporate negligence or complicity. It raises questions about the systems, or lack thereof, at the studio. The final two causes of action are, first, intentional infliction of emotional distress. This requires proving the defendants engaged in extreme and outrageous conduct that caused severe emotional and mental suffering. Given the details alleged, you can see why they'd include this. And second, retaliation. This claim relates directly to what happened after Mr. Dixon complained. It states that after he made his formal complaint to the EEOC via his attorney in June 2024, the defendants allegedly failed to investigate or take steps to prevent further harassment. Instead, they allegedly told him to take that unpaid medical leave, which, as we discussed, he views as a constructive termination, causing that loss of around $400,000 in potential earnings from finishing his contract. So, punishing him, allegedly, for speaking out.
Okay, that's a comprehensive list. So, turning to Mr. Perry's side, we heard the initial denial fabricated claims scam. How might his legal team try to dismantle these 10 different claims?
Well, that initial strong denial sets the tone. Their defense will likely attack Mr. Dixon's narrative on multiple fronts. They'll need to address each of those 10 causes of action. They could try to discredit his overall story, perhaps suggesting a consensual relationship that's soured, or that Mr. Dixon misinterpreted interactions or communications. For the harassment claims, common defenses include arguing the conduct wasn't actually unwelcome, or that it wasn't severe or pervasive enough to legally constitute a hostile environment. Or they might argue that any negative actions, like writing the character a certain way, weren't linked to the alleged harassment but were legitimate creative or business decisions. For the assault claims, the defense would almost certainly deny the incidents occurred as described, or perhaps argue there was consent, though that's a very difficult argument to make effectively in these contexts. The challenge for the defense, especially with the detailed timeline Mr. Dixon provides and the alleged textual evidence, will be crafting a coherent alternative narrative that convincingly explains all the documented interactions and events from their perspective. And yes, as you noted, some public commentary has already surfaced questioning the motive, framing it as a potential money grab given the $260 million demand. The defense will almost certainly lean into that narrative, suggesting the lawsuit is driven by financial opportunism rather than genuine harm.
You mentioned the text messages again. The lawsuit says it includes screenshots. What's the actual legal weight of screenshots like that, and how does verification work?
That's a really key point for the legal process. Digital evidence like text messages or emails can be incredibly powerful because, on the surface, they offer a direct, seemingly contemporaneous record of conversations. However, their authenticity and context are always subject to challenge in court. It's not as simple as just showing a screenshot. Typically, you'd need a forensic expert to examine the metadata, verify the origin, date, time, and integrity of the messages, ensuring they haven't been altered, faked, or presented out of sequence. While Mr. Perry's attorney, in that initial statement, called the overall claims fabricated, they didn't specifically deny the existence of the text messages themselves, which is interesting. But the defense could still challenge their interpretation. They could argue the tone was joking or sarcastic, or that crucial context is missing from the selected screenshots. They might try to introduce other messages from around the same time to paint a different picture. So, authentication and interpretation will be major battlegrounds if this goes forward.
What about some of the things the public might see as inconsistencies? The lawsuit itself mentions commentary pointing to Mr. Dixon's actions, like, staying at Mr. Perry's home after the first alleged incident, or continuing the professional relationship. How does the legal system, or how might legal experts view those kinds of actions?
That's a classic issue in these types of cases, and it really highlights the disconnect that can exist between public perception and legal understanding, especially concerning victim behavior and power dynamics. While someone looking from the outside might say, well, why didn't he just leave? Or why did he keep taking the opportunities? A labor law attorney or an expert in trauma would likely emphasize exactly what Mr. Dixon states in his filing: the immense pressure and fear involved. Fear of losing his job, his income, his entire livelihood, especially in an industry like entertainment where opportunities can be scarce and dependent on powerful gatekeepers. There's also the element of hope, hoping the behavior will stop, hoping the career promises will materialize despite the alleged abuse. Victims in these situations often feel trapped. They might fear retaliation, being blacklisted, losing everything they've worked towards. There's also the psychological impact. Alleged long-term grooming or coercion can erode a person's agency and make it incredibly difficult to recognize the situation clearly or act decisively. So, the legal system, particularly in recent years post-#MeToo, has become, I think, increasingly sophisticated in understanding these complexities. Courts are often instructed to consider the context, the power imbalance, and the potential psychological effects, rather than relying on outdated stereotypes of how a perfect victim should supposedly behave.
That makes sense. And you mentioned the California law earlier, the Sexual Abuse and Cover-up Accountability Act. Can you explain again why that specific law is so significant here?
Yes, it's absolutely critical to why this case, and potentially others like it involving older allegations, can even be brought now. This act essentially created specific look-back windows. It amended California's statute of limitations. That's the deadline for filing a lawsuit after an event occurs. Historically, the window for filing civil suits related to sexual assault, especially for adults, was often very short, maybe just a year or two after the incident. Many survivors, for various reasons, trauma, fear, not understanding their rights, simply couldn't meet that deadline. This act recognized that reality. It temporarily revived expired claims for adult survivors of sexual assault where there was some kind of alleged cover-up by an entity involved. It provided a new temporary window for people to file civil lawsuits, even for incidents that happened years or decades ago if they met certain criteria. It's a legislative acknowledgement of the delayed impact of trauma and the difficulty survivors face. So this law is precisely the mechanism allowing Mr. Dixon to bring claims related to alleged incidents going back to 2020 and 2021. Without it, those claims might have been time barred.
Okay, that clarifies the timing aspect. Now, finally, let's circle back to that huge number, $260 million. You said it's not uncommon to shoot high, But how does a legal team even begin to justify a figure like that, especially when the stated lost income is around $400,000? What components make up such a massive claim?
Right, it's a number designed to grab attention, for sure, but there's a legal logic behind it, even if it seems astronomical compared to direct financial losses. Think of damages in a civil suit like this falling into a few buckets. First, you have economic damages, that's the quantifiable stuff, like the lost wages Mr. Dixon claims, $400, maybe the cost of therapy, $20 Kay mentioned, future lost earnings potential if his career is deemed harmed. But then you have non-economic damages. This is compensation for intangible harm. Pain and suffering, emotional distress, mental anguish, loss of enjoyment of life, damage to reputation. Given the severity and duration of the allegations, multiple alleged assaults, years of alleged harassment, PTSD diagnosis, the plaintiff's lawyers are arguing this non-economic harm is immense, potentially far outweighing the economic losses. How do you put a price on that kind of alleged trauma? It's inherently subjective, but they aim high. And the third potential bucket is punitive damages. These aren't about compensating the victim. They're about punishing the defendant for conduct deemed particularly malicious, oppressive, or fraudulent, and deterring similar conducts by the defendant and others in the future. To get punitive damages, you usually need to show a high degree of culpability. The plaintiff's lawyers are likely arguing the alleged pattern of behavior, the abuse of power, and the alleged cover-up attempts warrant significant punishment. So when you add up potentially substantial non-economic damages and a large request for punitive damages, on top of the economic losses, you can arrive at a figure like $260 million. It serves as an opening bid in settlement negotiations and signals the perceived gravity of the alleged offenses. The final number, whether through settlement or trial, would likely be very different, but the initial ask sets a high anchor point.
Okay, this deep dive clearly goes way beyond just the legal filings in the courtroom. It touches on much broader societal issues, industry dynamics. It's fascinating and, frankly, a bit uncomfortable to see how a case like this can resonate, whatever the final outcome might be. You mentioned earlier this tension, right, between Mr. Perry's public image, this icon of self-made success, someone known for generosity, like helping actors Taraji P. Henson and Sherry Shepherd get fair pay when they felt undervalued elsewhere, and then these incredibly stark allegations depicting an abuse of that very power.
Exactly. And that tension is at the heart of the social implications here. Mr. Perry's public image is immense. He's built an empire, often outside traditional Hollywood structures, and he's deeply admired, especially within the Black community, as a symbol of perseverance, of creating opportunities, of achieving against the odds. These allegations, true or not, force a difficult public conversation. They present what the lawsuit itself calls a cautionary tale of how unchecked power, wealth, and influence can potentially corrupt. It challenges people to grapple with the uncomfortable idea that even figures who inspire, who do demonstrably good things, could also be implicated in serious misconduct. It forces a reckoning, similar to what we've seen with other powerful figures across various industries. The lawsuit explicitly draws parallels to other high-profile cases, suggesting this alleged dynamic isn't unique. It really pushes us to ask complicated questions about separating the art or the philanthropy from the artist, especially when the allegations involve exploiting the very community one claims to uplift.
That's a really crucial industry point, too. You mentioned Hollywood, especially for Black actors, being a challenging landscape. Can you elaborate on the specific vulnerabilities actors might face in that environment that could make them, well, susceptible to the kind of alleged power dynamics described in this lawsuit?
It's a tough environment. Many actors, especially early in their careers or those from underrepresented groups, face significant hurdles. Opportunities can be limited, competition is fierce, and financial stability is often precarious. Actors often work project to project, essentially like freelancers in a gig economy. This makes them highly dependent on the goodwill and decisions of powerful producers, directors, and studio heads for their next job, their income, their health insurance sometimes. There's often an informal culture of networking, relationship building, where professional boundaries can easily blur. Mentorship can be genuine, but it can also, allegedly, be twisted. So this alleged power dynamic described in the suit, where job security, career advancement, the dream itself might seem tied to tolerating or succumbing to unwanted advances, it reflects a deep systemic vulnerability. The lawsuit's specific claim about Mr. Perry allegedly killing off characters as a control tactic. That speaks volumes about the kind of absolute leverage a powerful showrunner or producer can potentially wield over an actor's livelihood. This case, if the allegations hold any weight, could really highlight the need for stronger, independent support systems for actors, more transparent casting and HR processes, perhaps industry-wide codes of conduct with real teeth that protect talent from potential exploitation by those in positions of immense power.
And the personal cost, as detailed in the lawsuit for Mr. Dixon, It's a stark reminder, isn't it? The alleged impact on his health, his career.
It really is. The lawsuit paints a picture of severe consequences. The diagnoses mentioned, acute stress, PTSD, the need for extensive therapy, the medication, the associated costs, that's a heavy burden. Then there's the alleged career impact, losing that $400,000 contract for the Oval, the whole situation surrounding his pilot script, losing it, which he clearly poured hope into. It underscores potentially devastating professional repercussions. The lawsuit frames it as this extremely difficult decision victims face. Either endure alleged abuse silently to maybe advance their career, or speak out and risk losing everything they've worked for, potentially being blacklisted. It's a powerful commentary on the intense pressures within the industry and the very real human cost when power is allegedly abused. And, as we discussed, the psychological toll, the alleged manipulation, the fear, the erosion of trust can be profound and long-lasting.
Looking at the bigger picture then, what kind of precedent could a high-profile case like this set? Especially with those California legal changes we talked about. What might the ripple effect be across the entertainment industry?
Well, the California Sexual Abuse and Cover-up Accountability Act has already set a significant precedent just by existing, by opening that door for more survivors to come forward. A case involving someone as prominent as Tyler Perry, regardless of how it ultimately resolves, whether it goes to trial and reaches a verdict or settles out of court, it inevitably sends ripples through the industry. It could further embolden other alleged victims, seeing that even the most powerful figures are not immune from being challenged legally. It might also encourage other states to look at their own statutes of limitations and consider similar legislative reforms. More broadly, it keeps the conversation going about transparency, accountability, and the absolute need for robust protections in all workplaces, but especially industries like entertainment known for significant power imbalances. We might see studios becoming more proactive, perhaps implementing stricter, clearer policies on harassment and relationships, maybe investing more in independent reporting mechanisms like third-party hotlines so people don't feel they have to go directly through internal channels they might not trust. There could also be increased scrutiny on the use of non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, in settling harassment claims. There's already a trend, legally and socially, to limit NDAs that silence victims of harassment and assault, and a case like this could add momentum to that shift. It forces companies to think harder about prevention and accountability rather than just potential damage control after the fact.
Given all these layers, the legal aspects, the personal toll, the industry structures, Mr. Perry's unique position, what would you even consider a fair resolution in a situation like this? It feels like it has to be about more than just a dollar figure, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's rarely just about the money in cases with such profound allegations. A truly fair resolution, from the perspective of promoting change, often needs to encompass multiple things. Yes, legal justice might involve financial compensation for the damages alleged, the lost earnings, the therapy costs, the pain and suffering. That's the mechanism our civil system provides. But beyond that, there's a broader sense of accountability. For many involved in these situations, or observing them, a fair resolution might also include some acknowledgement of harm, if harm is proven. It could involve commitments to real, tangible changes within the organizations involved, implementing stricter codes of conduct, better training, truly independent investigation processes, fostering work environments where people feel genuinely safe to report abuse without fearing career suicide. Ultimately, it's about promoting a cultural shift, dismantling those exploitative power dynamics where they exist. It's about establishing and enforcing clear expectations for ethical behavior, especially for those at the very top who hold immense influence. So yeah, it's much bigger than just a verdict or a settlement amount.
Yeah.
It's about whether the outcome contributes to preventing similar alleged situations in the future.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground here. We've gone through the detailed timeline laid out in the lawsuit, the specific allegations, the complex legal landscape, and these really significant, broader societal and industry implications of this deep dive.
Yeah, the stakes feel incredibly high. Not just for Mr. Dixon and Mr. Perry personally, but really for the entertainment industry as a whole and for this ongoing, larger conversation we're having about power, consent, and workplace accountability. The full impact of this case, however it unfolds, is definitely still developing.
So, thinking about everything we've discussed, for you listening, what matters most to you in a case like this? Is it the pursuit of individual legal justice? Is it the potential for broader industry reform? Or is it something else entirely?
And considering this evolving legal landscape, those California laws, and the really intricate power dynamics we talked about, how do you think this deep dive, a specific case, will ultimately shape the future of workplace accountability, especially for those individuals right at the very top of their industries? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.